Hello, and welcome to the Pain Points Podcast. I'm your host, Christian, and here in Florida. Just kind of wanted to start off this first episode by going over how I got started, what type of business I'm running, and what some of my goals are, and ultimately what those pain points are. The goal of this podcast, the heart behind it, is that there's just not the resources necessarily set at a certain price point for some of us starting out in the industry. And, maybe we can start the conversation, help each other out. I can share some of the things that I've done to get through some of these items, and then create a platform. Let's start the conversation. Maybe I can help you in some ways. You can share some of the things that you've done to get past some of the pain points that I'm feeling, and we can just feed off of each other. And really, at the end of the day, they say that the rising tide lifts all boats, and that's the whole heart behind this podcast. So, me personally, the way I got started was an entrepreneurial seizure. I was working for a painting contractor through a builder friend of mine, and it just wasn't really a professional outfit. I did learn very quickly how to apply different coatings and to do different setups, but we were we're more of a value style painting contractor. And then I found out that things weren't running as smoothly as possible when it was about 2 weeks worth of work that I had done, and I still hadn't gotten paid for it. And this is about 10 years ago. So that's how that kind of started. Fast forward, I worked a couple jobs in between and ultimately came back to decide that I wanted to, I had an opportunity to go out on my own. I figured I'd do a little bit of research. I started off by contacting the Small Business Administration, the development center here locally at one of the community colleges, paired up with them, figured out what type of licensing that I needed, and started off on the journey of the paint professor. Really, the whole heart behind the paint professor was that I, just from having worked in the trades, seeing some of the other painters in the area, either working directly for them or working alongside them as I was performing other trades, I just realized that there wasn't really anything out there that was more than just the kind of slapping a coat of product on a wall. They just said, "Hey, I use this product because it's really good stuff." But there's no, it became a commodity at that point. There was no information, no educating the client, and that's where I felt that I could make a difference, or where I could add value to my market. So it's always been the heart for education. That's why it is the paint professor. The logo has the academic cap, just like you would when you graduate, right there in the center, because education is at the heart of everything that we do. Our goal is to create a more educated consumer, and when a client finds value in that, then we wind up closing and doing the work for them. So it works out really well for that. I started the business back in 2015. I had been working for another company and was on paid furlough. So I literally had nothing to lose. I was still collecting a check from one company, and we were on paid furlough for about 8 months. And I was working just side jobs for friends, friends of the family, things like that. And that's when I started off on this journey. I didn't start off with a business plan. It seemed a lot of the business plan that we kind of discussed with the Small Business Administration was more geared towards like tech startups or medical startups. They didn't really have any advice for a construction outfit, kind of starting off. I knew I wanted to be different. I knew I wanted to be professionalized. I just didn't know how to get there. So fast forward the next 7 years to today, where it's just me. This year I started 2023 off by myself. It is a lifestyle business, as a lot of people say, but to be honest with you, I own a job. I own a job. I think a business is an organism, or an organization. They talk about that all the time. To where it can run on its own. If I'm not in the field, or if I'm not making a sales call, there's nothing running. There's no life to that. I own my job at the end of the day, and I've come to terms with that, and that's okay. I just don't want to misrepresent myself, saying that I own something that, or something's working in a way that it really isn't, and I just wanted to be honest with that. My goal, when I first started out, was just to replace my income. I knew how much money I was making on a daily basis. And maybe this sounds familiar to you, as far as understanding how much money you're making on a daily basis, and then going out on your own saying, oh, well, my boss is making all this money. I'm going to run on my own, and I can do this, and I get to keep all the money. So the first calculation starts off with, just as long as I'm charging more than what I'm making per day, then I'm doing pretty good. So that's how I started off for the first couple of years, and then started raising my prices. And then in year 5, I discovered some great resources. If you're familiar with the PCA, the Painting Contractors Association, I started listening to their podcasts back when Chris Schenk was hosting, and just kind of went down that rabbit hole. Listened to a lot of the podcast. Always heard everything about the 3 Nicks. And if you are familiar with that era of the Paint Ed podcast, then you know what I'm talking about with the 3 Nicks. And I loved it. For the first 5 years of my business, I thought I was on this island, and that there was no outlet to it. I wanted to have this professionalized company. I wanted to be able to give my community, my clients, I wanted to be able to give them what I felt that they deserved, and which was a professionalized company, fantastic value. But at the end of the day, I didn't know how to get there, or if it was even possible. And I tended to martyr myself for the projects. So it was very frustrating for a while, but then I started on this road of getting more professionalized. Some of the things that I did as far as professionalization was like wrapping my trailer. So now I had my logo, front and center, and then having everything consistent from all my social media platforms, my website. I started a website. That was another thing. Everything on Google pointed back to that same logo, that same brand. Started trying to build a brand as far as having something consistent. My goal today is to be able to get past these pain points that I have been dealing with, and to grow a company, and to really to grow a company that can start running it on its own. Not that I want to remove myself from the company entirely. Education is something important to me. It's something that I never want to take my finger off the pulse. So whether it's training sales people to create more educated clients, or training my staff, whether I had trainers or a leadership team to train the employees, train future painters, and other staff members. I never want to take my finger off the pulse of that. It's definitely something that I want to stay in touch with. But in order to do that, definitely need to get past some of these pain points that I'm feeling. So I'm somewhere a little bit above average from what the industry standards are, as far as what an average painter brings in. Definitely a lifestyle business. But I'd love to take the busyness out of the business right now. Wearing all the hats, trying to get all of that stuff done right now. Lately, I've been in the process of documenting some SOPs. I'd like to do a podcast and maybe a screen share on that, what that's starting to look like, and never forgetting that these things are organic, and as the company grows, they need to change and shift and evolve. I know a lot of times, maybe you feel it too in your business, that that analysis paralysis. You hear of companies that are doing, 10x of what you're doing or more, and all the processes that they have going on. It just seems overwhelming and you don't know where to start. So I really would like to walk this journey with you. Or rather, I'd like for you to walk this journey with me, more importantly. And let's start the conversation. What are some of the things that you're dealing with? What are the things that are holding you back from your goals? What are your goals? And what is your action plan to get there? For me, some of my pain points are it's just getting my message, my branding out there as far as for recruitment, and really nailing down this marketing thing. I've been in business long enough to where I've used a lot of my inner circle as far as sales go. So I need to market more. Running strictly off of organic is great when you have a large network of people to go to, but in those times where things get slow or start to show signs of being slow, it'd be really nice to have that little knob that you could just turn and twist accordingly up or down, to help supplement some of those slower times, as far as marketing. So that's something that I'm definitely new to the game at and would like to explore. We could share some ideas on that as well. So I guess right now is, if you heard this podcast, definitely leave me a like. If you kind of like this idea, like this format, I'm doing this in video and audio, so this will be on Anchor and any other podcast platform that you listen to, with the exception of Apple. And then I'll also be broadcasting the video feed through Riverside and posting it on the YouTube channel. So wherever you listen to, just make sure you search for The Paint Professor, and the Pain Points podcast will post. I'm going to try to shoot for every Friday on those. And I'd really like to interview some of you guys. So if you're running a solopreneur business, a sole proprietorship, or even a small business where you have one or maybe two crews, I'd like to talk to you. Let's start the conversation. Let's find out how you started and kind of go through the same thing. What does your business look like today? What would you like your business to look like? What are some of those pain points that you're dealing with? So definitely give it a listen. Reach out to me. You can reach out to me on the best place is Instagram, and that's at The Paint Professor. That's at The Paint Professor on Instagram. Just shoot me a DM. I'd love to talk to you guys. So thanks for listening, and I hope to talk to you soon. Bye.